right, Scott! That's pretty heavy, guys. I love saying that. It's heavy. I mean, they had to say that 1 billion times in this movie and the first movie. It's so good. I love it. It puts a smile on my face every single time they say it. Anyway, hey there guys, what's up? It's Autobot Mike 18 here, back with another one of my old movie reviews. Not a movie review, guys, that's right. This is another one of my old movie reviews, and I haven't done one of these since November, I think was the last time I did one of these. I did one for Interstellar was coming out, and I hadn't yet seen Inception. That was the last old movie review I did. I usually try not to do old movie reviews during the year. I usually do them during the summer. And now, since it is summer and I am done with school until August, till late August, guys, as you know, I am going to be bringing my old movie review series back. I've gotten tons. I've had at least 10 of you ask me to do more old movie reviews. You know, even some of my friends who watch my videos told me, do more old movie reviews. They're good, okay? In case anyone who's new to my channel did not start following me this last summer, but last summer, guys, I started a series on my channel that many of you love very dearly, and I called it Old Movie Reviews. Basically what I did, guys, last summer, I got to do about 10 to 12 of them, maybe 10. But I picked a couple of movies between May and early September, and I did old movie reviews for them. I reviewed movies that I've never seen before, some of which I have seen before, most of which I didn't. And I reviewed them for you guys for the hell of it, because I wanted to see these movies, number one. And number two, I felt like reviewing them for you guys. So that's why I did them. And these old movie reviews, these movies aren't necessarily from the 1960s or the 70s. They could be from any year, you know, as long as it's not like 2015, okay? So that is why I called this series my old movie reviews, and I'm bringing it back for this summer, guys. I got a lot of movies I have been planning to review, and there are a lot I can't wait to do for you guys. I hope to get even more up this summer than last summer, because I know how much you guys love them. So I'll try to do more of these than, I guess, other videos I do, you know, like a monthly movie guide that I used to do those. I'm not doing them. I'll just work on doing old movie reviews. Hopefully I'll get to do that, though. With that said, though, here is my first old movie review of 2015, of the 2015 summer movie season, and I am going to be doing it on Back to the Future Part 2. That's right, guys. I am going to be reviewing Back to the Future Part 2. Now, I know a lot of you guys right off the bat are going to be upset that I'm not reviewing the first Back to the Future. Here's the thing. I watched the first Back to the Future earlier this year. It was the first movie I watched in 2015. Not a 2015 movie. Any movie. Out of any movie I watched in 2015, the first one I watched was Back to the Future for the first time. I just wanted to watch it. I had just gotten the set on Blu-ray for Christmas. And I watched the first Back to the Future, and I'm going to give you my thoughts on that movie at some point in this video, because I know a lot of you want to hear my thoughts on that movie as opposed to Part 2. But I haven't yet seen Part 2, so I just watched Part 2 last night because I was dying to see what was going to happen in Part 2, and that's why I'm going to be reviewing Part 2. I don't think I'm going to review Part 1 in its entirety. I'm just going to leave you my thoughts on it somewhere throughout this video. So guys, Back to the Future Part 2 was released in 1989, and it is yet again directed by Robert Zemeckis. He directed the entire trilogy, and I gotta say, after watching both of the first two Back to the Future movies, along with several of his other successful films like Forrest Gump, Castaway, Flight, all good movies, Zemeckis is probably one of my favorite directors. I mean, he's just done so many good movies, in my opinion. There's still a lot of from him I still have to watch. But Back to the Future Part 2 was released in 1989. It was shot back-to-back along with Part 3, which I still have yet to see. But the way this film ended, believe me, I'm going to try to watch Part 3 as soon as I can. I don't think I'm going to review that, though. I just want to stick to at least one of the parts, one of the Back to the Future movies. That's why I decided to do Part 2. Anyway. So Back to the Future Part 2, guys, in terms of its synopsis, picks up right where the end of the first Back to the Future left off. The great Doc Brown has returned in his time-traveling DeLorean from the year 2015. He returns to the year 1985 and once again reunites himself with Marty McFly, played by Michael J. Fox, and his current girlfriend Jennifer, played by Elizabeth Shue. Now, Doc Brown, played by Christopher Lloyd, he's just seen 2015. I guess he's liked most of it from what he's seen of it, but he knows that something bad is going to happen to one of Marty's kids. Marty's son in particular is going to get arrested. So he wants to take Marty with him into the year 2015 to stop Marty's son from being arrested. So they do just that. They go into the year 2015, into the future, and while they do, one of our beloved characters from the first Back to the Future, the older Biff, ends up spotting the DeLorean, goes back in time to the year 1955, and completely ruins everything in terms of history, basically. And it's up to Doc and Marty to get to the bottom of this and stop and alter time, because what Biff has done, believe me, it's bad. Okay, and that's all I'm going to say about Back to the Future Part 2. In case you guys didn't know this, I never spoil in my old movie reviews, and if there's any reason I want to spoil something in one of my old movie reviews, I will definitely post or say that I'm going to spoil it before I do. So that's all I'm going to say about Back to the Future Part 2, in case anybody hasn't watched this movie. But I've got to say this much, guys. Just listen to that plot. That's only half of this movie. Because this movie, yes, it's a time travel movie. We get that. It's called Back to the Future. If you've seen the first Back to the Future, which I'm assuming you did if you've seen Part 2, you will know that these are time travel movies, okay? And this is... Back to the Future is... I'm going to give you my thoughts on it, but it is the time travel movie. Back to the Future Part 2 is another solid, very solid time travel movie. It's because of how amazing it is. They jump from year to year to year. They time travel between 3 different periods of time in this movie. They start off in the modern day 1985. They go to the future in 2015. Then they go back to an alternate 1985. Then they have to go to 1955 in order to correct everything that happened in 1985. And that, my friends, is the time travel that goes on in this movie. And that just absolutely blows me away that they went from period to period. And in Part 3, which I haven't seen yet, but I'm sure things are going to be crazy in Part 3. They're going all the way back to 1885. So things are going to get even more exciting, it seems. So guys, Back to the Future, in terms of the first film, which was released in 1985, became an absolute hit. It's probably regarded as an utter classic film. My thoughts on the first Back to the Future and why I enjoyed that film so much, I just gave it away. I enjoyed that film so much. Back to the Future was amazing. I love that movie. That has got to be the best time travel movie ever made. I don't want to hear anyone argue with me. That is the best time travel movie ever done. Hands down. Hands down the best. Best one. And once I watched that movie, I could not get it off of my head for at least a couple days. Alright, it is without a doubt one of my favorite movies of all time. I give it an absolute 10 out of 10, A+. It's probably in my top 10 of all time. I love Back to the Future. I loved it. It had a great deal of heart to it. The performances, it was just absolutely groundbreaking. I'm assuming when it came out, everybody was blown away. I myself was blown away watching it in the year 2015. Alright? I traveled to the future, to 2015, to watch Back to the Future. No, I'm kidding. But it's just such a great film. It was even funny. Like, I laughed a lot in that movie, alright? It was so good. So, naturally, my expectations for Part 2 were very high, and I must say, although it is very hard, I knew it was going to be hard to outdo the first one. I didn't think the second one was going to be better than the first. I knew going into it, alright, this movie's not going to be as good as the first. I get that. That's understandable. I'm going to accept that. But I gotta say, Part 2 is a pretty solid sequel in its own right that is just as entertaining, not as much, but just as entertaining in its own right. Still filled with great performances. It's still filled with the wonder and awe that the first one had. Maybe there's some more of that in this movie even, because we're going into these different periods. We go into 2015. And right before they go into 2015, in the beginning of this film, I'm like, how are they going to portray 2015? And the way they portrayed it is the best 1980s way to portray 2015, because they made it in 1989. This film was made in 89. They're portraying 2015, the future. They have no idea what's going to happen. So I couldn't wait to see how they did that. Then when we go to the alternate 1985 in this movie, holy crap, that is freaking awesome, the way they did that as well. I didn't even want to leave 2015, it was so cool. Flying cars, hoverboards, sneakers that tie themselves, large Coke bottles, hologram Jaws 19 posters. I love that with this movie. I honestly, if I had to pick a gripe with this film, is that we didn't get to see enough of 2015. Like, it was so entertaining and so amazing, the world they created with the same location that they had in the first movie. In the first movie, they went to 1955. I know I'm throwing a lot of dates at you guys, but if you're a hardcore fan, you'll appreciate this, okay? And you'll understand this. When they were in 1955, they went to 1955 Hill Valley, California. Now they're in 2015 Hill Valley, California. It looks exactly the same as 1955, 1985 Hill Valley, except futuristic. So I loved seeing that. Like, it really looked like they just made it futuristic. Like, and I know they had broken down the sets or whatever between 1985 and 1989 when they shot this movie, but they did a great job. All right. The script was also really, like, just very, very closely and meticulously to detail. Like, they had everything right. I was reading articles about Back to the Future Part 2 and trivia questions and all that. They even got, like, there's an important thing that happens in this movie involving a sports catalog, a sports almanac. They even got the sports names right, the sports teams that win certain games in one point in the film. They even got that right. They could tell that the writers, Robert Zemeckis, Bob Gale, the guys who wrote the script, did their research. They put a lot of time and effort to the script, and they thought of something very creative and thoughtful, even though they did something absolutely insane with the first Back to the Future. They brought us to 1955. They introduced time travel using a DeLorean. We were amazed at the love triangle that was created between Marty and his parents in 1985. It's just such a classic and genius concept. Then we go to Back to the Future Part 2. We got this whole thing with a sports almanac, and it's so genius what they thought to do with it. I mean, it really is what they decided to do with the movie. And not only in terms of the script were things really smartly and carefully done, and they put a lot of effort into this movie, you could easily tell, but also in terms of the visuals and in terms of the boost of technology between the first one and the second one. How they film certain things. Michael J. Fox has to play himself, has to play different characters, 3 different characters in one shot. So they had to literally shoot using the special equipment, technological equipment they had at the time. They shot Michael J. Fox, just like what they would do in Enemy. They had to, like, split screen it, alright? So they shot Michael J. Fox playing Marty McFly's daughter. They shot him playing older Marty McFly, and then they shot him playing Marty McFly's son. And this is all Michael J. Fox, and this one shot just blows me away. The first time I watched it, I didn't know he played Marty McFly's daughter in 2015. I had to go back, I had to rewind the movie, and I said, holy crap, I thought that was a legitimate girl they got to play that role. That looked like it would be Michael J. Fox's daughter, or Marty McFly's daughter. It was great. They did the same thing with, there's another scene where they have Doc Brown. There's 1985 Doc Brown and 1955 Doc Brown. They got to use the same equipment, split screen. I love how they did that in this movie. Absolutely love how they did that. It was just groundbreaking. It was amazing to see. Not once did it look fake, or did I say to myself, oh, that don't look real. No, I did not feel that at all as I was watching this movie. What can I say? The film is again, it's just as well shot as the first movie was. It's just as well and carefully directed by Zemeckis. The performances, I think Michael J. Fox and Christopher Lloyd were just absolutely stunning in the first Back to the Future. They were also incredible in this. And for 1980s special effects, they were pretty damn good. The hoverboard scene is absolutely incredible in Back to the Future Part 2. It really looked like it looked like they did like legitimately good 2000 special effects. But, you know, this was in 1989 and the effects were better in this movie. I was just watching Garfield before I shot this review. The effects in this movie, 1989, before technology advanced, was better than Garfield. The CGI in that movie is... Anyway, I was literally just watching scenes from that on TV. It's such a bad movie. Anyway, Back to the Future Part 2. I loved it, guys. It's not as good as the first one. It doesn't have the heart and soul that the first one had. And it's not as just refreshing as the first one is. Because when I watched the first Back to the Future, I said to myself, I don't know if I mentioned this earlier. I think I did. If I didn't, I'm mentioning it now. Like, I had seen multiple cartoons that had dealt with time travel, and then like animated cartoons on TV, on like Nickelodeon, Cartoon Network. I don't know if Jimmy Neutron had done it when I was a kid. And it was amazing to me how they wwent back in time and it would like create like a love triangle with like parents and kids. I've seen it done before. And to see it in this movie and to know that it came out in 1989 and 1985, that's just absolutely mind-blowing that this movie started all of that and literally paved the way for cartoons that have done parodies and done knockoffs of Back to the Future. I mean, it's just, it shows you how much people were impacted by these movies. And although Part 2 is not as good as the first, if I had to give any complaints about Part 2, it would honestly be that I wanted to see more of 2015. Like, I know they got most of the predictions that they made wrong in the story, but it's so damn entertaining to see the 1980s version of 2015. It really, really is. I wanted to see more of that. You only spend about 30 minutes in 2015, and then we go to the alternate dimension of, or alternate year of 1985, and then we go back to 1955, which was amazing how they pull that off without Crispin Glover, especially. How they had to use prosthetics on an actor to make it look like Crispin Glover. They had to reuse shots from the first one. I mean, they put so much effort into this movie, and I had read up on this. They did not want to make a sequel. They were forced into making a sequel by the studios. You could tell they wanted to end it with the way they ended it with Part 1. And you could tell they wanted to work their asses off to get the best possible sequel they could. And although it's not as better as the first, because nothing is going to come as close to the first Back to the Future, it is pretty damn solid in its own right. My only other flaw with this movie is the way they ended it. I like how they had the trailer for Part 3, because I can imagine when fans were watching this in the theater, they lost their shit when they were watching footage from Part 3, which was coming out in the next summer in 1990. I don't like the actual way they ended it, the way they did. Alright, that's all I'm gonna say. I just like, it's like they could have ended it. They didn't have to do a third one. I haven't seen the third one, and I don't know whether or not it's good. People have said it's and people aren't even fans of the second one. But I loved the second one. I just feel that they definitely could have ended it differently. But in terms of the way it was directed, the way the film was shot, the performances are so good, just as the first one. Michael J. Fox is just so charming and just so, he's such a presence to watch on screen, without a doubt, as is Christopher Lloyd, who just kills it as Doc Brown. I mean, he's just such a character, you know what I mean? The script is incredible. It's so amazing how tense things can become as Marty McFly is desperately trying to just get a sports almanac. That's all he's trying to do. Alright, I mean, I really, really enjoyed myself as I was watching Back to the Future Part 2, guys. It's a worthwhile sequel. It's another one hell of an adventure. It's got great special effects. I mean, although it's not as good as the first, it's such a damn entertaining sequel, and it just makes me want to watch more from this series. Like, I'll keep watching movies. Even though there's only 3 of them, there's one more I have left to watch. I can still watch these all the time. I really loved the first 2 movies. Back to the Future Part 2, and specifically with what they had to do with it, the sets that they made for the film, the accuracy of time travel and all that. I loved it. I really enjoyed myself. I'm going to get Back to the Future Part 2 a solid 9 out of 10, or an A-. Not a bad grade for my first 2015 old movie review, but definitely, if you've seen the first one, you know you got to check out Part 2. It's not as good, but it's pretty damn good on its own right. As another film, it's pretty darn entertaining. So that's how I feel about Back to the Future Part 2, guys. Thank you so much for watching my review, and I hope you guys are glad that my old movie review series is back. Now let me know what you thought of Back to the Future Part 2 down below. Let me know what you thought of the first one, and stay tuned, guys. I'm going to get a bunch of more old movie reviews coming to you as soon as I can. I'm glad I'm going to be doing this series throughout this summer. Hope you guys are going to be looking forward to it. Thanks a lot for watching, guys. Bye.